Honorable Professor and teachers, thanks for being here today. Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Zhang Yilin. In this presentation, I would like to talk about the legal disputes to vaccine of Germany. Before I begin, I would like to give all of you an overview of my presentation. First off, I would like to talk about controversy of should vaccine be compulsory for people who are responsible for medical and nursing work in nursing homes and medical institutions. Then, I would like to move on the debate between the theory and practice. Lastly, I would like to talk about individual perceptions of this issue. First, we will talk about should vaccination be compulsory for people who are responsible for medical and nursing work in nursing homes and medical institutions. This fourth is the proportion of people in Germany who receive vaccines is low. The Prime Minister of Bavaria, Markus Söder, thought that legislation should be made to compulsory vaccination of medical staff, which triggered a heated debate. Most public opinion supports his proposal. Some even committed that medical personnel on the front line of epidemic prevention, as if they were fighting, must have the obligation of vaccination. Otherwise, it would be like a soldier on the battlefield, but not obeying ministry orders. Second, can the government require you to get vaccinated? The Federal Supreme Administrative Court of Germany has declared that it is legal for the German Ministry of Defense to enforce the vaccination by soldiers. Soldiers who refuse to fight must be disciplined by ministry orders. This is the obligation of inoculation depending on the field. In the correct debate, as for the ministry, the areas considered to be obligated to vaccinate are mainly the military, medical care, and nursing industry. Contrary to Söder's opinion, German Federal Minister of Health Jens Spahn said that he prefers non-compulsory practice. In addition to the Ministry of Health, the position of the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Labour, and other opposition parties should not be forced. Ostensibly, because the people are forced to accept medical measures, it is likely to violate the constitutionally guaranteed body integrity and autonomy. Former President of the Federal Constitutional Court, Hans-Jürgen Papier, expressed his doubts, and Volker Blumenstadt, a law professor at Oldenburg University, also issued a ruling. However, Alexander P.F. Ellis, an expert in medical law, believes that the obligation of vaccination is legally feasible under certain conditions. This debate is still going on, and I don't think that there will be corrosive measures, apart from political and medical opposition, and the gray area that need to be clarified in law. There is a thorny point. It could turn over a sensitive chapter in German history. In the era of fascist dictatorship, medical treatment and human body once served for political purpose. However, even if mandatory laws may not be passed, it is still worth discussing why medical and nursing staff are not willing to fighting. Some German medical and nursing staff still have doubts about the safety of vaccines. Germany has always received vaccines, and there were already many people before the emergence of coronavirus. Every time a few vaccines is vaccinated, some people will always express their refusal. According to the media reports, about 10 to 15% of of caregivers refused to receive the vaccine. The German physicians report that according to an anonymous questionnaire in December, about 3/4 of the medical staff were willing to vaccinate, and about half of caregivers were worried. Everyone who refused to be vaccinated has its own reasons and should not be generalized. However, according to Apotheken Umschau, the reason for the doubts of medical staff may be insufficient information. For example, does the effectiveness of the vaccine not only prevent you from being attacked by the virus, but also prevents you having the ability to carry the original infections? It remains to be further clarified. As the past conference calling for compulsory vaccination, Bavarian Prime Minister Söder said that all staff in kindergarten and school must be vaccinated against measles to protect school children. This is an example worth learning. He was refusing to the measles protection and enhanced vaccination law that came into effect throughout Germany in March 2020. According to this law, children who are not vaccinated cannot go to kindergarten and parents will be punished. Kindergarten teachers and staff who do not vaccinate must also be punished and cannot work in such educational establishments. In view of the highly infectious and incurable measles, it is a great threat to public health. So the German Ministry of Health submits the bill in 2019, but as expected, it attracted intense social debates. The German Medical Association also believes that the population of the first dose of measles vaccine is now as high as 97%. The government's insistence on passing the legislation is populism and blind action, not a compliance with the principle of proportionality and may be unconstitutional. However, even if his debates arose, a majority of Congress agreed. Therefore, on the vaccine, many people think that it may be compared with compulsory vaccination, and Söder is not alone. However, physicians and medical ethic experts at Geylang University Hospital believe that it is because the medical profession has clarified the nature of the measles virus and the vaccine. Compared with the situation of the vaccine, the degree of information accuracy is different. If medical staff are not to be forced to vaccinate, there must be sufficient justification to clarify the degree of vaccine effectiveness. Otherwise, if such a high intensity medical order is executed, the anti-epidemic effects that may be achieved is limited. So, in my vision, enforcement by law, modern patient or even illegal logical pursuit to increase the vaccination rates is not the first choice, and it may even have some counterproductive effects. The most important thing now is to build people trust in vaccines and through the mechanism of vaccines. This requires an open, transparent and detailed enlightenment with sufficient information and constitution. The governments need to scientifically clarify the effectiveness of vaccine as soon as possible, not only to pursue medical staff but also to pursue the people. For example, a doctor said on TV that the time for the approval of the vaccine to be marketed is too fast compared to the pervostentry produced. What is the whole reviewed process? More popular information is needed to resolve doubts. Therefore, the government should be able to prove that the shortened time is only to speed up the administrative procedures, and the professional adults that should be done have not been overviewed. The German agency responsible for such doubts has still achieved professional choice, and the entire review's process is open to acceptance. Only by inspections can the doubts of the medical care professional field and the general public by error. Introduction. Some priors and system design can also be used to carry incentive for vaccination. Members of Congress are already discussing whether or not legislate to compulsory vaccination. It is better to discuss whether to reward those who are willing to vaccination. Otherwise, the political theory programs also discuss whether certain rights of those who refuse to be vaccinated can be restricted in the future, and some of their freedoms can be restricted with damaging their basic human rights, so as to increase their willingness to vaccinate. For example, some areas have stated that they may refuse to board the plane if they are not vaccinated in the future to protect the crew and other passengers, or some entertainment activity with gathering such as ball game, concerts, and so on. Most also prove that they will use the vaccines can only participate. Before we go to conclusion, let's recap. First, what's pros and cons of vaccination? The theory and the practice have different views. Second, the impact of vaccine and related laws. Last but not least, everyone is responsible for fighting the epidemic. That is all from me. Thank you for your attention.